Have you ever felt like you're trying to watch a dozen different shows at once? You've got these confusing markets over here, a tech revolution that feels like science fiction over there, and then boom, global tensions flaring up out of nowhere. Well, today, we're going to uncover the single story that connects all of it. It's called the Great Reconfiguration.
So how are we going to connect all of these dots? Well, we'll kick things off with a real puzzle in the financial markets. Then, we'll see how that ties into this huge physical AI revolution and how that is sparking a brand new scramble for resources. We're even going to explore a wild theory about who might be pulling the strings behind the scenes. From there, we'll look at how old friendships are being tested and wrap it all up with a massive choice facing all of us, a future of abundance or one of austerity.
All right, our story starts with something that's been baffling a lot of people: Bitcoin. It's supposed to be this window into the future, right? But lately, it seems to be having a major identity crisis. And you'll see why that confusion is actually a huge warning signal for everybody.
Okay, so here's the core contradiction. If Bitcoin is a high-risk tech asset, you'd expect it to be flying high with the stock market. But it's not at all. And if it's supposed to be digital gold, a safe place to park your money, then it should be mirroring gold's record highs. And it's not doing that either. It's just kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere.
And here's why this matters for the big picture. For the huge investors, the ones with billions to move, this identity crisis is a total deal breaker. You just can't pour that kind of money into something when you don't even know what its fundamental purpose is. It leaves Bitcoin at this existential crossroads, and that's like a flashing red light for an entire system that's in flux.
But here's the real twist. This confusion, it's not really about crypto. That's just a symptom of a much, much bigger shift. So let's meet the real engine of change that's shaking up the whole global system.
You know, for years, AI has been this thing that lives in the cloud, right? It's chatbots, it's image generators, but that is changing, and it's changing fast. The AI revolution is, well, it's getting a body. It's moving into the physical world, and that changes literally everything. We're talking about a complete reinvention of industry, of labor, of how we move things around the planet.
And this isn't just some cool tech demo anymore. We are way past that. Boston Dynamics is taking its famous Atlas robot, the one you've seen doing backflips, and putting it to work on an actual factory line. Companies in China are already mass-producing humanoid robots by the thousands. And you've got tech giants like NVIDIA building what they call the AI factory, a whole system designed to train millions of these machines for the real world. This isn't coming. It's already here.
But, and this is a huge but, this physical revolution has an absolutely enormous appetite. And the main thing it needs is energy. To give you some perspective, this number, 3 to 4%, that's the current annual growth rate for the entire planet's electricity supply. It's just crawling along.
Now, compare that slow crawl to this. 1,000 gigawatts. That's how much solar power China is deploying every single year. You pair that with batteries, and you're talking about enough juice to match half of the entire electricity output of the United States. They aren't just building a few power plants, they are building the energy foundation for the entire AI era, at a speed the West can't even seem to comprehend.
So why? Why this incredible civilization-level push? I think this quote from Elon Musk really gets to the heart of the ambition behind all of this. He sees technology, AI, robotics, getting into space, not just as a way to make money, but as a genuine survival strategy for humanity. It's a way to make sure that this little candle of consciousness that we have doesn't just get snuffed out.
Okay, so this grand vision of a future filled with technological abundance it's inspiring for sure. But it's on a collision course with a very hard physical reality. Because building that future requires a truly staggering amount of stuff. And that's what's kicking off a new era of global conflict.
This, right here, is the bottleneck. You can't just build AI data centers and fleets of humanoid robots out of thin air. You need massive amounts of energy, tons of copper and silver, and all these rare earth minerals. And this isn't just an economic problem anymore. It's a geopolitical one. It's starting a new global race for the raw materials of the 21st century.
And we just saw a perfect example of this play out. Back in January, the US basically declared Greenland vital for its minerals and its strategic spot on the map. Then, when a few European nations sent some small military forces, the US threatened a full-on trade war. The whole thing was only called off when a deal was made for a unified NATO presence. This wasn't just some diplomatic spat. It was a real-time scramble for the resources you need to win the future.
So, okay, we have this massive tech shift that's causing a scramble for resources. But what if it's not all just happening randomly? What if there's some force behind the scenes that's deliberately re-engineering the world order?
Now, according to one viewpoint, the main player here is a network of what's called transnational capital. We're talking massive banks, sovereign wealth funds, private equity, all operating beyond the borders of any single nation. The theory is that this group is actively reshaping the globe to make sure that capital and resources keep flowing in this new AI-powered world.
This perspective suggests it's a multi-part strategy. It supposedly involves a controlled weakening of the US dollar, buying up strategic assets and infrastructure in the West, and using the immense power of foreign money to influence policy. The endgame, according to this analysis, is to basically manage the transition from a world dominated by the US to one that's more multipolar, a world where capital, not necessarily nations, calls the shots.
Now, whether you subscribe to that particular theory or not, one thing is absolutely undeniable. This intense global competition is putting enormous pressure on the old ways of doing things. It's creating some really deep cracks in alliances that have stood for decades.
I mean, it makes sense, right? When every country is scrambling for a piece of the pie, even the strongest friendships get tested. The pressure to just put your own interests first starts to wear away at decades of trust and cooperation. And that creates some really dangerous vulnerabilities in the global order.
And you can see this happening even between the closest of allies. Take a recent trade dispute between the US and Canada over a digital services tax. On the surface, it seems minor, but in this new environment, some analysts don't just see a disagreement over money. They see it as a test, a small but significant crack in the shield of the North American alliance.
And those cracks? Well, that's exactly what adversaries look for. One analysis connects this kind of friction between allies directly to national security, and it highlights these strategic targets to make a point. The logic is pretty simple. Any division, any weakness could be seen as an opportunity. Now, this isn't about predicting anything specific, but it shows the incredibly high stakes of keeping things unified in a world that's under so much pressure.
So this brings our whole story right to a head. All of it. The market confusion, the AI revolution, the resource wars, the fractures in global alliances, it's all pushing us toward a fundamental choice. We're at a crossroads, and there are two very, very different destinations.
On one path, you've got the vision of abundance, the one people like Elon Musk talk about. It's a future where AI and robotics create a world without poverty, where energy is almost free and humanity expands out into space. But then there's the other path, the darker vision, the one outlined in some of these geopolitical analyses. A future of control, where financial weapons are used to strip assets, AI leads to mass unemployment, and nations are constantly fighting over what's left.
So here's the bottom line. This great reconfiguration, this global rewiring, it's not something that might happen someday. It is happening right now. The technology is being built as we speak, the resources are being claimed, and the new world order is taking shape. The only question left is, which path are we on? Which of these two futures are we actually building today?